its landmark adult crime, adult time laws into Parliament this week. Live to Kaiser Shields in Brisbane. The laws will include more offences, Kaiser.
More than a dozen additional offences, Pete. It's unclear at this stage exactly what all of them are going to be, but the government has named 5 of them. They are attempted murder, aggravated attempted robbery, rape, arson and torture. Now, these offences will be added to the list of the adult crime, adult time laws based on advice from an expert legal panel. The opposition has called for that advice to be released for transparency after there was some criticism of what was and wasn't included in the first round of laws. In particular, an emphasis on attempted murder after a 13-year-old boy was charged with that in January after he stabbed a Coles supermarket worker in the back in Ipswich. Now, Premier David Crisafulli says this new set of laws will be just the next stage of addressing the youth crime crisis.
If you're asking me if I'm satisfied where things are on youth crime at the moment, I can tell you we're a million miles from where we need to be yet. We've got a long way to go. But every change will be about making things a little stronger and a little safer. And we've got a long way to go, but we're finally heading in the right direction.
The Premier is committed to cracking down on youth crime in order to restore community safety. Exactly what this legislation looks like, well, we'll just have to wait and see when it's put into Parliament this week, Pete.
All right, Kaiser Shields, thank you. Well, joining us now is the Associate Professor of Criminology at Bond Uni, Dr Terry Goldsworthy. Good to see you again, Terry. So let's just back things up a little before we get to this broadening of the legislation. Are the adult crime, adult time laws actually working at the moment?
Well, Pete, we won't know that for probably 12 months or more. I mean, they've only just come in recently, so we've got to see some of those sentencing processes go through. I guess, prediction is that we'll really only see it make a great difference in terms of murder. The other offences, I don't think it'll make much difference at all. I mean, we don't see the judges giving out the maximum penalty in the vast majority of these cases anyway for youth offenders. So just because we've allowed them to sentence higher up to adult time thresholds, I don't think that will change at all. We'll still see those sentences come out that the community perhaps is not satisfied with.
Right. So you don't feel like, in your view, that these need to be broadened?
Well, look, I mean, I can understand why he's done it because there's community outrage. I mean, if you have a look at the data, we still have 420 serious repeat offenders who are youths, and we had more than 50,000 youth offences last year. The crime rate is still sitting at a 20-year high, so something had to be done. I just think they could have done perhaps, looked at minimum mandatory sentencing for serious repeat offenders and looked at the bottom end of the problem rather than putting in these higher levels of imprisonment rates and whatever else that we know the judges won't sentence them to. We've got access to public data on sentencing. Yeah. They simply won't do it.
So do you think the government and the Premier, they're kind of hamstrung in that regard? Because, like you said, it is up to a judge to make the call, and there's no guarantee that they will go the maximum.
Look, I mean, they are. I mean, and this is the problem. You're going to see these sentences come out, then the government will blame the judiciary. Well, if you're not happy with what the judiciary is doing, then, look at some alternatives. And one of those is the minimum mandatory sentencing, where you look at the bottom and start with the bottom offence, sentencing areas, and then you don't worry about the ones at the top. So I think the government's got to be practical about this. I mean, there have been some inroads into crime in the last 5 months since they've come to power. The crime rate has dropped about 2% compared to the equivalent period when Labor was in power. So there is some positive signs there, but it's still all-time highs. So the work is not finished at all. And, I don't understand why only 5 offences were released yesterday. Why not just release the whole list of offences? I mean, that kind of, carry on just, I think, frustrates the community.
All right. Look forward to seeing a little more detail on that as it comes out a bit later. Terry, good to see you. Thanks.